Hello everyone and welcome again to once again another episode of Too Many 20s, a character focus. We're going to go with the DM's perspective this time. Yeah, I'm going to answer some questions, kind of get a video going. Okay, first question. What do I do in Too Many 20s? Well, first of all, I'm obviously the DM. I'm basically the creator. I started everything. I look for sponsors, that kind of thing. I kind of keep an eye out for any kind of options, any kind of things that might benefit the channel. And I love the fact that it's constantly getting absolutely better. To kind of leap on that to another of the questions that's been asked, where's the channel going? We're hoping to make it we're just hoping to improve what we have as we go along. We want to make what we have the best it can possibly be before we start adding more content in. Do you have to be careful to not copy common fiction or other shows? That's a good question. I try just to think of what makes a good story. I started with Lost Mine because it's a good adventure outline for you to insert stuff that makes things interesting. Like I've made a lot more out of a lot more characters here. I've gone, okay, so why would this character be doing this? What makes that character do this? I remember saying that there's only like 6 stories in the actual world. If at that point you're just copying. And I view it from that line. It's a matter of everything has been copied to a certain extent. But it's not a question of what you do, it's a question of how you do it. It's not about reinventing the wheel, it's just about making a cool wheel. How do you balance overall plot lines with character development? I kind of try to slide the character development into the plot lines. Say something's happening with the Red Brands. What people in the players, when they talk to me about their backstories and talk to me about what their characters do, I go, okay, how can I place their characters into there and actually make it interesting, because it provides more drama. With Hazel, with her character, it's a matter of that the Red Brands provide more drama. She's part of it. She was part of it. It adds for more character development than just simply going, we have thugs in the place. They're boring as hell. And then make it a little bit more interesting with a matter of maybe one of the other characters, maybe Tim, has got some interesting history with the leader of the Red Brands. As a DM, what has been your favourite moment in a game observing your players? It was when they were all fighting the Nothic under the caves. That was the moment where I just went, oh, this comes together beautifully. They were their characters. They were fighting this thing, but at the same time, it wasn't just mechanically, I throw firebolt, I am done, I roll dice, that is complete. None of that robotic stuff. No, we were all in there. We were blending into it. We were action. It's like, oh, what do we do? Ah! It was a lot of great reactions, and as they say, acting is reacting, so that's how you make a good show. You make a good show by the way of making everyone react appropriately. How do you stay on the ball? Do you sometimes zone out? It's a focus thing, and more often than not, it's because of mental situations in my head that cause me to not really be able to zonk out or zone out or anything like that. I may not be able to keep up with everything at the same time, but I'm always trying to keep track of everything. It's just a matter of okay, collect, smash, boop. That's happening with that happening. Plot lines. Smash them together. D&D has done marvels for my ability to improvise. Just simply from the fact of some of the stuff that I have to on the cuff just go, story, and go from there. If you're an aspiring actor, then D&D is the perfect thing to play. It really encourages your ability to roleplay and your ability to improvise. Your ability to improvise will always be improved by doing years of this. When did you move from player to DM? Do you miss playing? Well, that one's quite of an easy question. I've always DM'd. I was first introduced to tabletop RPGs through Pathfinder. After playing that, I looked into Dungeons & Dragons. Thankfully, 5th edition was coming out at the time, so basic rules were providing free rules. So I was like, hey, that's helpful. I'll check those out. Combed the book. I analysed it, and I'm like, I am in love with this. And then they put out the free Dungeon Master's Guide that had, I think it was a selection of about 100 monsters, as well as the basic, like, how to run a game as if you're a Dungeon Master, blah, 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 blah. Fell in love completely with the basic rules. So for anybody who's starting out in it is going, you know what, I fancy being a player or fancy being a DM, check out the basic rules. That's a great way to start. But basically, I've always been a DM, so to be honest, I don't really miss playing because there's nothing really to miss. I'm one of those people who I always feel better being a DM. I always appreciate more being a DM. I like being a DM where I'm like, hey, why take away what you enjoy? So I prefer being a DM. I have no issues with being a player, but if you give me the option, that's what I'm going to take. How do you manage to come up with so many voices? How do you remember how each character sounds? I remember how each character sounds because I remind myself. I basically just go, what accent do they have? And then I go from there. This character has this accent. And then I'll do like a triggering sentence where basically if you say this sentence in this way, you'll be like, got the accent down. In regards to, say, Sildar, where he has an Australian accent, and I go, okay, Australian accent, a little bit gruffer. Okay, so run off the sentence. And this is from Despicable Me 2 of all things, but for some reason, whenever I kind of play this sentence out in my own mouth and own voice and own head, then suddenly the Australian accent comes out where I just go, Wallaby, didgeridoo, Hugh Jackman. And then there we go. Okay, got the accent in, and then it's not really a accent at all. It's a way of getting your brain to focus on that line that's a little bit more important. You know what I mean? It's a little trickier than it sounds, but that's basically my trick for making sure to remember how each character sounds. When have you made a normal NPC or item that your players have run with and twisted in ludicrous and unforeseen ways? This one's, again, the character campaign. Gobbly and the Goblins did not see that going the way it has, where they worship Tim as a god now. It's fun as hell. I have a plan of where to take that, but that is something that I have come up with after the start of the campaign. This is in response to things. And that is kind of the best way to do a campaign, where it's like, here's the structure, and the flowing of it is controlled by the players, and you react to what they do. This is just for DMs in general. It's often said, good artists borrow, great artists steal. The way I interpret it is that if you borrow, like if you're a good artist, you borrow, you go like, I've got a character called Frodo Baggins. He wants to get rid of this piece of jewelry. Your players are going to go, I know what that is. That's obvious. Come on, man. That is borrowing, because at some point you have to give it back. You have to be like, yep, that is someone else's. If you steal, it's not literally theft, but it's a matter of taking something from something else, twisting it and turning it into a point where it is something that is entirely your own. You make it into your own thing. Don't be afraid to take. Be afraid if all you're going to do is use exactly what you've taken. I'm going to quote one of my favorite shows, one of the shows that I regard as the great shows of all time, Futurama. If you do something right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all. Keep that in mind. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Bye-bye, and remember, keep rolling.